Joining us now for some inside perspective on that GOP conference meeting that just broke up a few minutes ago. Let's bring in Republican Congressman Scott Garrett from New Jersey. He is the vice chairman of the House Budget Committee. Inside that meeting, I just got out. Congressman, thanks for joining us. I know it's a busy night up there on the Hill. Yeah, what can you tell us about what happened and what the strategy is for Republicans going forward?
Well, the House has been put into a situation where, because of the lateness of the Senate vote, as you well know, it's somewhat 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. The Senate did their thing, and of course, as somebody said in conference, nothing ever good happens at 2 o'clock in the morning. And I think that's the case here. They sent us over a bill and are trying to basically jam it on the House and leave town, as the Senate is often wont to do. But I think the House is trying to do the responsible thing. Leadership is trying to do the listening thing. And so we've had a conference. Their leadership is throwing out a couple options. You laid out the options just a moment ago, and we're going to see if we get to that magic number of 218.
Yeah. So what is the feeling when you look around the room and get a sense of the conference meeting there? Do you get a sense that there are 218 members who want to amend this bill and send it back?
Well, I really wouldn't want to be a whip right now, because I could not tell you walking out of that door that there was 218 votes this way or that way, and that's literally why Kevin McCarthy has to do the whip on this, because I don't think you get a sense of the people going to the microphone. People going to the microphone are basically, in the conference, are really just raising the concerns that we've been raising all along. You know, the fact that the president said a long time ago that you can't cut your way to prosperity, and instead he wants to he wants to tax his way to prosperity. And I think there's still a strong pushback to that we just can't tax our way and raise taxes. And I think that's really what members are anxious about.
Yeah, Congressman, the CBO score for the Senate bill actually has an increase in spending each year, with over the 10 years the national debt increasing almost $4 trillion. You're a fiscal conservative. You obviously have a problem with that, but considering the implications of not acting, are you going to vote against this bill?
So you raised 2 points. So yes, I certainly have concerns about the increased spending, but let's have an inside look at that, though. Some of that increased spending is what we call tax expenditures. Those are tax credits and that sort of thing that most Republicans would either support or have supported back in 2001 before I got here. So some of that spending is really tax credits expenditures. So it's not
sure the big number. Understood.
You got it. And on the other side of the equation, your second point of your question is this: that. Going forward, we really should not be looking at a package, which is basically what the Senate has sent to us, that is going to do what? Is going to raise taxes even on small businesses, while allowing that the tax expenditures, or rather exemptions, for big business to remain in place. And that's really what the Senate has done here. They said small businesses, $450 a little bit, or to $1 million, you're still a small business. You're going to see your taxes go up. Bigger businesses, you're going to be treated favorably. And that's what the president has been pushing all along, and that's why some of us have concerns here.
So that sounds like a no to me.
Yeah, well, I have not been whipped yet, and so I'll wait until I go in that room down the hallway to be whipped.
And just to explain for people at home, whipped means by the leaders of your party to be able to convince you to vote one way or another. But which way are they?
Yeah, but that's the typical definition of whip. But in this case, there is no whipping. This is clearly, Kevin McCarthy is really just doing a poll of the members. He's not twisting arms. He's not trying to force votes one way or the other. He's just literally trying to get a sense of the mood and the feel of the Congress or the conference and go in that direction.
But what about the Denny Hastert rule, the so-called majority of the majority? Do you think if Speaker Boehner gets to the point where he does not have a majority of his caucus voting for the Senate bill, that he would have to pass it with Democrats' votes and not a majority of his own caucus, that he will move forward?
Yeah, well, that's really an excellent question. You bring up the Hastert rule, and that goes back a few years. But in essence, I think that's what Speaker Boehner has said. He'll take the sense of the conference now, either go in one or two directions. One of the directions he may decide to go in, depending on how this vote goes, is to do exactly what you suggest, and that could conceivably be with the Democrats, if not the majority, giving a sizable number of votes to pass this legislation. Good point.
Congressman Scott Garrett from New Jersey, Vice Chairman of the House Budget Committee. Congressman Garrett, we really appreciate the time.
Pleasure to be
and
with
we'll
you.
follow every development by the hour.